Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. It's Kaylan Alex. If you're new here, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you're returning, thank you so much for tuning in. So is the luxury resale market done or what? Like, we are experiencing something a little bit unusual when it comes to the resale market or the pre-loved market as far as luxury items are concerned. It's been a lot. So I have a few thoughts and opinions of what is kind of going on, my little theory of where it could be going in the future. With all of the price increases, like, the pre-loved market is a little hectic and chaotic right now. So let's just jump into my pros and cons / theory of this whole debacle, and let's just chat about it. Let's start with something good, something positive, something like, upbeat. So okay, the pre-loved market, if you don't know, quick, short, and easy, is just a market of people reselling items that they've bought in the store. Okay, sometimes these items have been used, gently used. Some of the items are brand new and maybe they just bought it to resell, or they are no longer interested in it and maybe they're outside of that return window, or they bought maybe from a boutique that they're not able to return to, or it's just been in the closet, they've held on to it for a long time and they're just ready to let it go for whatever reason. That is the synopsis of the resale pre-loved market. In layman terms, in case you don't know, that is where we're coming from here. As you will have noticed, the pre-loved market, as I mentioned, does not always include items that have been used. They could be very new, very brand new, just purchased products, which is kind of like this caveat, I'll say, in this whole discussion. So it is a place where you can get items brand new that sometimes that you can get for less than what the retail cost may be, or if it is, an item that is gently used, it will be, just a little bit under that retail price, or if it's brand new, you may pay a premium depending on how the demand is for the item, pretty much. So like, it serves as a purpose of obtaining something that you probably can't get in the store, or you just don't want to pay the price that it is in the store. Now with that's such a broad statement, because there's so many parts and pieces that go into when you should shop pre-loved, or when's the best time, what's the best brands to shop pre-loved. That we'll discuss in a later video, and I've kind of touched on that before, but we'll talk about that in a later video. But these are just some of the pros of being able to shop the resale market or the pre-loved market. There's also a wide variety of items that you can choose from that you maybe not have seen before, or those special limited release items that are no longer available in the store. Someone is probably reselling them and you can get your hands on it. Or we have our boutiques that are highly exclusive, inaccessible items that you can get your hands on without having to go into the store and purchase the item. You have the pre-loved market for that. Okay, those are the pros of the resale market. It also has that that sense of sustainability, I guess, because there are bags that are circulating in the economy or the ecosystem of the world without you having to like go purchase something that is being remade, if that makes sense. Like, it's, instead of just throwing away an item or destroying it, it's being repurposed and reused for someone else, so there's kind of like this cycle, this ecosystem when it comes to shopping items really in general, because you can pretty much resell anything. So there's this sense of like sustainability there that is kind of like a plus that I've seen a lot of, or quite a few brands kind of touch base on, which I think is pretty cool, because I never really thought about it like that. But I mean, it makes sense. Okay, and like I mentioned before, you have that option to resell an item that you're trying to get rid of for whatever reason. That you can always get rid of it or at least for something. Some money is better than no money, right? So I would consider that a pro, in that you're not just stuck with having to give away something that you may have deemed valuable and want to like get some type of return on. So there's somewhere you can go to resell the item, because someone is probably looking for that specific item. So we love the resale market for that, because every time we want something, chances are it is available somewhere. Whether or not it's available at the moment, it's coming. Keep looking for it. So those are the pros of the resale or pre-loved market. I feel like it has its great benefits. Those are just some of the very few, but it can definitely be a place of of happiness and joy. So she serves her purpose, right? Now let's get into some of the cons. I feel like the cons over the past years with e-commerce and the resale market have kind of like grown, and I wouldn't go as far as to saying they've outweighed the good, but they've definitely been like pretty impactful when it comes to whether or not you should even shop the resale market. So of course, the elephant in the room, prices. Let's start with the elephant in the room, prices. The resale market or the pre-loved market, when it comes to pricing items, can be wild, okay? You can go on the pre-loved market and purchase something for 5 to 10 times its actual retail cost. And we see that a lot with a lot of the exclusive brands like Hermes, even Goyard, some of the limited releases with Chanel. Some of those brands that you can't really just go in the store all the time and pick up a specific item, we'll see like 5 to 10 times the retail price is being listed for on the pre-loved market. And I feel like that is just like mind-blowing, number one. And two, it's kind of like it almost justifies why the actual boutique some of them are charging an astronomical number for an item that we don't deem that shouldn't be that price. It almost makes sense as to why the original brands are raising their prices, because you can go on the pre-loved market and they're retailing it or reselling it for way more than what the brand is actually selling it for, which means they're making money off of that more so than the brand. And it's kind of like, well, I only want people who actually want my product to have it. You see that a whole lot with Hermes. You can go into the store and maybe purchase a bag for $3,000, and I've seen the same bag retail for $8,000 on the pre-loved market. Mind-blowing. But again, that goes into that concept or that theory that it's not as accessible for everyone, so you're going to pay a premium on it. And I feel like that's where it becomes taboo, because for me, I feel like if I know that I can go into the store, or I will stand at least some chance of going into a boutique and purchasing an item for retail, I'm not going to pay 3 to 10 times the retail price for the item. I don't think that I will ever get to that point of feeling like I need this item that bad that I'm going to pay this much of a premium for it, when I know that it's not that much. Now, I don't know, maybe sometime down the line I may find an item that I feel like is just that important to me that I need it. But generally speaking, I just don't feel like, number one, I don't feel like it's fair, but I get it. And number two, I just feel like it almost diminishes the brand, because it's this cause and effect kind of thing happening. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're seeing huge price increases because of the resale market. Now, that is only a part of it. Some of these brands, come out with their own statements as to why they're increasing their prices. The cost of labor, cost of material, different things of just the cost that it's costing them to make the item has increased, and therefore they have to charge more for the item. But I also feel like a huge part of that is the resale market, because they're seeing their items be priced so much significantly higher than what they're retailing it for, and they want to limit the access to it. Now, it's like, that is to me is taboo, because I get you wanting your products to be exclusive and only accessible to the people who actually want it. I can agree with that, as long as it's just that. I can see a brand wanting to limit a person being able to shop their brand, because they only want people who actually want the items to have them. as a business owner, or thinking from that perspective, I wouldn't want someone purchasing my items just to go and resell it. So I can kind of like understand their that thought process of it. Getting people who actually want the items, letting them have access to the items, you know what I mean? So I feel as though the resale market it's playing a part in those price increases that we're seeing, and we're like, why? It also kind of like sucks because the people who are actually interested in the item, who actually are collectors of whatever the item is, we see it a lot with handbags, we've seen it a whole lot with Chanel handbags, but it's not just handbags, it can be jewelry, it can be sneakers. The sneaker resale market, crazy. But those items, like for the people who are actually collectors of the item, because the chances of them getting it's kind of like they have to work, or we have to actually work for an item that we actually want, and to prove that we want it, and it's not going to just be resold. But I do think it'll eventually level out. There's just like a few things that we're seeing new happening in like society in general right now that I feel like is playing a part in everything, but everything is a cause and effect. So kind of like piggybacking off of that, you can get an item on the Preloved market for only like a few $100s less than it would be in the store. It's kind of like, well, why would I really do that when I could just go to the store and get it brand new versus paying just a little bit less than that's been used and going into the store. Now here is where I feel like the only benefit you're getting mostly here is that some of the sites, or companies or brands, resale market wise, you're paying less for the convenience of a flexible payment option. So some brands have a Firm, they have a layaway option, they have a like a Klarna, like a Sizzle. There's so many different ones now. Like I can Afterpay. Like there's so many different flexible payment options. I think it's a good idea if done smartly. Be very smart about it, because it's still debt. Another topic for another day. But you're basically paying just about the same on the Preloved market as retail because of those flexible payment options, which I feel like can be good and bad. But like I said, we won't go too much into that today. But basically, that's what I believe you're benefiting from shopping Preloved with just a little bit less than retail. The other con with the Preloved market is finding trustworthy, reputable, reliable sellers. Now this, oh my goodness, this can be so hard, because even the most trustworthy brands can sell unauthentic items unknowingly. There is no such thing technically as authenticators. Now there are companies who do authenticate. These companies are not necessarily not at all affiliated with the brands in which they are authenticating for. These are just basically people who have been trained or are just enthusiasts of the brand, who have studied and know authentic items from particular brands, and they're able to spot disingenuine product versus one that is actually authentic. These are people who may have even worked for the brand, who can kind of tell unauthentic versus authentic items. But officially, there is no such thing as authenticating an item, because brands don't do it. And I know I've worked in luxury retail. I have shopped luxury retail. I've been experienced with this particular thing before. They don't authenticate because they don't want someone bringing a bag that they know is not authentic to be authenticated, and then the actual brand telling them, yes, it is authentic, no, it's not authentic, and then them being able to adjust if it's not. And then if it is, if the brand says it is and it's actually not, it's kind of like that thing where it's like, well, the brand told me it's authentic, so they know their product. So they won't really tell you whether or not it's authentic unless you go into the store for a repair. If you've purchased an item and you have to have it repaired, they will authenticate their bags, but they won't call it an authentication because it's really not. They will just have to make sure that it's actually been purchased from the brand before they do any work on it, which is not really authenticating, but I guess it is, because they're not going to work on an item that is not authentic. So that is the only way that you can like get something authenticated. It's not even authenticated. That's the only way you can like have it repaired is if they know that it's actually purchased from their brand, right? So that is kind of like another thing. You can also, there's like reviews and things you can go on, but it's really hard to find reputable sellers who you trust, because another thing that some sellers will do is they won't actually have the physical product in hand. They'll be selling for someone else, and they won't actually see the product until maybe it's purchased. And that's if they ship the item to the person and they ship it to you. Sometimes the seller will sell an item and then whoever actually has it will ship it to the buyer. I've had that happen before, and luckily the item was authentic. It was from a brand that is pretty popular, and I didn't know that was even a thing until this situation. And when I received the item, it was just packaged very poorly to be such an expensive item, and it actually made me upset, because I'm like, I spent this much money for this item and this is how it was shipped to me. But the item was authentic, thank the Lord. But sometimes I have seen situations go viral when the item wasn't authentic and the person who purchased it had to jump through hoops to get their money back. So it's kind of like hard to find actual, reputable sellers, which is like a con with the resale market, because you don't really know until, something happens. So my theory, I guess you can say, on the whole ordeal is that eventually it will level out. I feel like we're in a time right now we're seeing more wealth or more money circulate around, because more people are attaining some level of wealth, whether it be, hundreds of millions or whatever the number is. More people are making more money to be able to purchase items that before was super limited to only a handful of people, right? Now, when I say this, I don't mean that the people have to be extremely rich or you have to be extremely wealthy to purchase these things, which is kind of like what I'm saying. The people just have to make enough money to purchase whatever it is that they're looking to purchase. And I feel like we're seeing a lot more people be able to purchase things because we're seeing a rise in entrepreneurship. There's so many different ways to generate money, generate wealth, income, especially in this day and time. Like, it's the things that you don't think about that you need every day that produce the most money. And people are catching on to that, and they're learning different, philosophies when it comes to financial literacy. So I feel like that's another reason why we're seeing a boom in the resale market, a boom in just spending in general. Then we have inflation. There's so many different factors to factor in here. This conversation can spread so broadly. There's so much more money being circulated right now. Like, more people are being able to have access to these things. And I feel like that's kind of why we're seeing a boom in the resale market as well, because we see items become more in demand and more people want specific items that usually would not have been, as popular or as in demand, and that kind of naturally plays a part in it. Now, as I mentioned, I do think eventually this will level out. I think that once it becomes like some type of equilibrium with the amount of wealth that we see, being as liquid and disposable, I think that it will level out. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to stop. I don't think it's going to actually slow down. I just think it will level out. It's kind of like the sneaker resale market. If you know just a little bit, which is me, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know just a little bit about it. And I know that you can buy a pair of shoes for $180 and resell them for at least $600 or $700. That's on a little average pair. Don't let it be a special release, a special collaboration. It's kind of like I have a love-hate relationship with the resale market, especially shoppers who, buy up all the good stuff and then resell it with a premium. It's neither here nor there. It's the way of the world. It's how things work, I suppose. So I won't complain about it. I get the items I want to get and forget the race, child. But those are my thoughts and opinions of the pre-loved market. Whether resale is actually done, I don't think so. I know so it's not done. I just think that we're still trying to find our footing and find that, you know, median space when it comes to it. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out with this steady price increases and whether or not people will actually still be purchasing those items at a premium. So we'll see. Those are my thoughts and opinions. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, drop a nice comment down below, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I post again, and I'll see you in the next video.